Hi guys, it's me, ChazzaHD, and welcome to the race reaction for the 2018 Belgian Grand Prix. And hopefully we have, I wouldn't say recovered after that race because it wasn't that exciting, but hopefully we have now thought over what has happened in that race, and hopefully we are all doing well. And if you have somehow missed the race today, I will now go through the race results. Here you go, here is your top 10. Sebastian Vettel wins the 2018 Belgian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is second. Max Verstappen, at what is basically his home race, finishes in third. Bottas is fourth. Perez is fifth. Ocon sixth. Great there for Force India. Haas in seventh and eighth with Grosjean and Magnussen respectively. Great for them also. Gasly as well, very good in P9. And Marcus Ericsson P10, finishing a lap behind the leader. And then for the rest, we have Carlos Sainz in P11, Sergei Sorokin 12th, Lance Stroll 13th, Brendan Hartley 14th, Stoffel Van Dorn 15th, and then your retirees are Daniel Ricciardo, Kimi Raikkonen, Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, and Nico Hülkenberg. Those are the results for the Belgian Grand Prix. But now let's go through all the teams and review and react to how they all did. And first off, we go to Mercedes, who, with Lewis Hamilton today, they just did not have the pace. The Ferrari was way too fast, which is not a surprise because in practice, Ferrari, I think in all three practice sessions, were faster in dry conditions, and also in Q1 and Q2. The only session where Hamilton was fastest was in Q3 where it was wet. So, with it being dry, there was nothing I think Hamilton or Mercedes could do. Ferrari were just too fast today. Second place though, and at least he doesn't let Vettel gain loads of points on him, and he finishes in second, I think about 11 seconds behind the race winner. Valtteri Bottas finishing in P4. That is the best he could have managed after pitting on the first or the end of the first lap with some front wing damage, because he hit the back of Sergei Sorokin and made his way through the field. Not, very quickly, but again, he couldn't really get any better than P4. So what he did in today's race was the best he could do. So good points there in terms of the constructors. Mercedes are now 13 points ahead, I believe, of Ferrari. So in terms of winning the race, not good, but once we come to Monza, who knows, maybe they can capitalise on some kind of mistake by Ferrari. Let's see what some of you guys think about Mercedes. What do you think about their race today? Could Hamilton and Mercedes have done more to beat Ferrari? Was Bottas's drive good? What did you think about Mercedes? Seb could have got pole in Q3 if he had his battery. Yeah, he probably would have. The Ferrari was always going to win. That's from JB. I agree. Ferrari in the dry, no one could compete with them. They were that fast. Nikki says, not a great day for Mercedes. Ferrari too quick, and Bottas had no chance at all from 17th. You've summed it up very well. Bottas, the best he could do was what, in the position he finished in. And Hamilton, I think he did the best he could. Mercedes just did not have the pace today. Mercedes had to pace, but they couldn't beat Vettel. Yep, I agree. But I think it's pretty simple to say. Again, Mercedes are behind Ferrari in terms of pace. I think aerodynamically, Mercedes have a better car, but it's still very close. It's not like Mercedes have a massively better car in the corners. It's still very close. But I do think Mercedes have a slight edge in that factor. But when it comes to straight line speed, the Ferrari is the fastest. There is no doubt about it. Bottas did well from JB. Yep, he did. And he also asks, will Bottas win a race this season? I think he will. I think it'll either be Russia or Abu Dhabi. I don't think it'll be at any other race. Hi to Caleb, who's just tuned into the stream. The crash had a deja vu feeling just like in 2012. That's from Darren Halm. I will get into that, or Darren Hallam, sorry. I will get into that in once we get to McLaren and Renault soon enough. But I'll move on to Ferrari, our race winners for today. And as I've said, they were too fast, way too fast for the competition. If Kimi Räikkönen had been, had a good enough qualifying and had avoided that crash, which he would have if he started at the front, it could easily have been a Ferrari 1-2 today. They were that fast. They were so quick, especially in the second and final stint of the race. Vettel was the class of the field. No one could beat him today. Kimi Räikkönen, though, I feel so sorry for him because qualifying with what happened with the fuel was very unfortunate. And then he had, a good start to the race today. I thought he had a good start. And then he got hit from behind by Daniel Ricciardo. Nothing he could do about it. Got a puncture, and then that was his race basically done. There was too much damage to his car. Very, very unfortunate for him. He deserved a lot more from this weekend. I think he deserved, at the very least, a podium finish. He was that good this weekend. But for Ferrari heading into their home race, they look very, very good. And if they don't win the Italian Grand Prix, I would be very, very surprised. They are so fast right now. They are so fast right now. And when it comes to, the straights, I don't see how Mercedes can compete with Ferrari in a straight line right now. So going to Monza, it's Ferraris to lose, in my opinion. Do you guys think that? And what do you think about Vettel's race? Do you think he was one of the drivers of the day? And what did you think about Kimi Räikkönen's just horrible weekend? Horrible in terms of luck. Let's see what some of you guys think. Vettel is the best F1 driver on the grid. I wouldn't agree with that, but today he was very, very good. A mixed bag for Ferrari. This is from Nicky. A mixed bag for Ferrari. Seb, in typical Vettel fashion, winning the race, but Kimi's contact with Ricciardo, the Aussie's fault, by the way, ruined his race. I don't think Ricciardo could have done that much about it because I think Alonso hit Ricciardo, hit him in the rear, and then that kind of pushed Ricciardo towards Raikkonen. So I don't think Ricciardo could have done anything about it. It was just a set of unfortunate circumstances which brought about that accident. So nothing that Ricciardo could have done, nothing that Kimi could have done. It was just a racing incident. But of course it did ruin Kimi's race. I think Vettel will win in Monza. That's from JB. I'd have to make Ferrari the favourites for Monza. Absolutely. I think Ferrari in Monza will actually be better than they were in Spa because I think Monza suits their car better than Spa, in my opinion. I am Vettel fanboy, so that's why. Just looking at the chat now. Will Red Bull have the 5th best car at Monza? Maybe 6th? No, they won't be that bad. I still think they'll be the 3rd fastest. I don't think Force India or Haas can do anything to stop that because, yes, in the straight line, Red Bull are so slow, but in the corners, Red Bull gained, so much on those teams. I don't see them being any faster or slower than 3rd place. I think Raikkonen and Ricciardo collision was a racing incident. Yep, I agree. Nothing, as I said, that anyone could do about it. It just happened, and I'm afraid you have to deal with it. It's just racing. That's what happens sometimes in a Turn 1 incident. Gregory Zerkov says, Ferrari has a great chance of 1st and 2nd as long as they do not do anything stupid. They really should be in those kind of positions at Monza, but we'll have to see what Mercedes can respond with. But we'll see once we get to Monza. But let's go on now to Red Bull, who I think today, with one of their cars at least, damage limitation. You have to say Max Verstappen in P3. That's the best he could have got. The 2 cars ahead of him were way too fast for him. The Red Bull way off the pace compared to Ferrari and Mercedes. Bottas was never going to catch him. So Third place is what he got, and he deserved it. And I have to say, his overtakes on the Force Indias were very, very good, especially on Esteban Ocon with a dummy move down the inside at Lecombe. Very good move. That is the overtake of the race for sure. There wasn't many overtakes in this race, but very good drive and very deserving, in my opinion, of finishing in third place. But for Daniel Ricciardo, very unfortunate weekend. He hasn't really been that good this weekend. He's been quite far off the pace, especially his teammate. Not really a surprise that he's slower than Max, but it's a bit of a surprise that he is so slow this weekend. And in the race, he got hit in the back by Alonso's flying car. That pushed him into, who was it? Kimi Raikkonen. And his rear wing and his front wing was damaged, so they had to replace both. He got back out on the track, was a full lap behind. They were hoping for some kind of safety car or rain, but when it became clear there was not going to be any, they retired his car, and that's the only thing they could do. But for Red Bull, I think this was a good race, getting a podium with Max Verstappen. And when it comes to the Italian Grand Prix, unless there is any retirements up ahead with Ferrari and Mercedes, I think Red Bull will finish 5th and 6th if both cars end up finishing the race. That is all I see at the Italian Grand Prix. It's going to be another very difficult race for Red Bull. But guys, what do you think of Verstappen's drive? What do you think of his overtakes on Perez and especially Esteban Ocon? And what did you think of Daniel Ricciardo's, I guess you could say, stop and start race? Very unfortunate for him. Let's see what some of you guys think. Rain is bad for Red Bull, actually. I don't think the rain is, bad for them. I think, yesterday their pace in the rain looked quite good until they ran out of fuel and they couldn't do any more laps. So I don't think the rain is bad for them. I just think they got it horribly wrong. And in Hungary, Red Bull didn't really know didn't really know why the car was so bad. Christian Horner on race day in Hungary said that they don't understand why the car was so bad. So it's still a mystery. Talk about McLaren already. I mean, I will talk about them in a minute, but I need to get done with Red Bull first. Ricciardo's been pretty poor this season. Apart from China, Monaco and Canada, he hasn't had the best of results. I don't think he's been poor. I don't think he's been great, but as is, he's had a good season. He's had a good season. He has, of course, capitalised massively on Max's mistakes in the early part of the season, but I don't think you can say that he's had a bad season. I think he's had a good season. It's not been his best, but it's not been a bad season at all. Good job by Verstappen. First podium on home soil. That's from Alejandro Barbosa. Yep. Very good result there. Blessed Doob says, today Ferrari proved they have the fastest car. We've known this for quite a few races. It's just they need to actually get the result. But in Hockenheim and Hungary, they didn't. So it was all down to just getting that result. And once they got it, then they could put a marker down like they have today. Ricciardo has given up, it seems like. That's from Gina. I don't think he's given up. I just think compared to Max at Spa, he is not as good. Max is a lot better at this track than Daniel is. But Daniel at Monza does tend to be good. So we'll see what he does at the Italian Grand Prix. Last year, Verstappen retires and Ricciardo gets third. This year, Ricciardo retires and Verstappen gets third. Indeed, that is correct. Do you still think Hamilton will win the title? That's from JB. Yes, I do. Even though Ferrari have won today and Ferrari do have the fastest car, I still do not trust them to get the job done. Yes, they were quick today, but that doesn't mean they're going to win the title because they won this race. They won very well in Canada. They won very well at Silverstone, but look what they did after that. So just because they've won today doesn't mean they're going to win the title. There's still 17 points for him to claw back. I think he will get that gap closed down, but I don't think he'll win the title because I do not trust the Ferrari-Vettel partnership to get the job done. If Kimi kept running, he would have given Hamilton a run for his money 100%. If you're talking about after his pit stop, then no. he wouldn't have, because he was down in about 16th, 17th place. The Ferrari was quick, but it wasn't that quick. Do you think Red Bull will win in Singapore? This is the thing with Red Bull. After their performance in Hungary, I don't think they'll win a race for the rest of the season, because the power unit that they have is so slow right now compared to Mercedes and Ferrari. Even though they're going to be good at certain tracks like Singapore, Mexico, even Suzuka, I think they'll be quite decent. They don't have the power to beat Mercedes and Ferrari like they did in China, like they did in Monaco, and like they did in Austria. They just don't have the power anymore. So I don't think they will. Has Hulkenberg got any penalties? I don't think so right now. But yeah, I will move on now to McLaren and get into what was a very bad race for McLaren. Not really a surprise. This team is in a crisis in terms of pace right now. They were never quick to start with, so they weren't going to score any points. Fernando Alonso getting sent airborne by Nico Hulkenberg, hitting the back of him, taking him over Charles Leclerc's car, almost hitting Leclerc in the head. We will get onto the halo once we get to Sauber at the very end of this race reaction, but nothing Alonso could do. Maybe he could have finished in P11 or P12, but the McLaren car wasn't quick this weekend, and Stoffel Van Dorn proved that by finishing last of all the runners. McLaren have a lot of work to do, and hopefully, once we get to a track which suits them more, not necessarily suiting them totally, they will not be so poor like they have been this weekend, and like they are inevitably going to be at the Italian Grand Prix. But guys, what do you think about McLaren's race? There was nothing really to it except the crash. It was a very, very poor race, a very poor weekend. Just poor all around for McLaren. Now it is 100% Van Dorn will be dropped. That's from Gina. Yeah, I don't see him staying at McLaren. I think he will be going from McLaren. Will he remain in F1? Who knows? But he will not be staying at McLaren, that is for sure. McLaren, I think, have had enough of Stoffel. Stoffel won't be dropped this season, is confirmed. Even if he stays the rest of the season, he is not going to be in that car next season. There is no way they're going to keep him in that car. I think they're going to have 2 new drivers in that car for 2019. Just looking through the chat now. Let's just trying to see any more comments about McLaren. I'm glad Nando is okay. I am as well. He was very close to flipping over in that accident. So he got lucky as well that he didn't flip over, because it could have been a very, very big crash if that had happened. Alonso's car, virtually disintegrated. That's from Blessed Duve. It did. His engine, I think part of his engine actually fell out of the car. That's how big it was. McLaren is a sinking ship. That's from Delirious User. Yep, that's absolutely correct. Right on the money there. JB says, I can't believe pre-season McLaren were expecting to be on par with Red Bull. Still baffles me. Still baffles me. I mean, this weekend, how far off the pace were McLaren compared to Red Bull? Let's say 2 seconds at least. 2.5, 3. Like, come on. That's your aim for 2018, and you can't even get within 2 seconds of them at Spa. What a ridiculous aim that was. I still do not understand why they were setting that when it was just unrealistic. It was unrealistic. Just focus on getting to the front of the midfield. Not, oh, let's win races and beat Red Bull, who've already won 3 races this season. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, I see Ferrari going further ahead next season. Well, let's wait and see what happens in pre-season first, because you don't know, Ferrari might produce a dog of a car. We don't know what's going to happen with the 2019 regulations. If McLaren doesn't working on 2019 car, then it's RIP. They have to be. This must be an explanation as to why they've been so slow this weekend. Has to be. There's no way they're that bad. Or are they? I don't know. Last year, McLaren had the best chassis on the grid. They didn't. There's no way they did. After this year, I think it's been proven that this whole best chassis was absolute BS. Was absolute rubbish. Red Bull last year had the best chassis, but people thought, and I thought as well, I'm going to be honest, I thought they had one of the best on the grid. But this year's proven that they actually have, at the best, the 8th best chassis on the grid. They're poor. They are absolutely poor. Last, just looking for some more about McLaren. 3 races out of 13 is a lot of wins for a team. 0.6 of a second slower than Ferrari. It's because they've capitalised on opportunities that they got, Red Bull. And that's how they got those race wins. But we'll move on now from McLaren. I think we've discussed enough about that absolute abysmal team right now. And let's go on to Renault, who had a disastrous race. They had to somehow get in the points, and they didn't. And Haas went on and scored 10 points. That could be very important at the end of 2018. Nico Hülkenberg, you can see there, getting out of his crash car, and he did cause that lap 1 collision. There is no doubt about it. I've seen people saying, oh, because Grosjean got a race ban in 2012 that Hülkenberg should. I disagree. Hülkenberg's mistake, in my opinion, was not as bad as Grosjean's. It was still bad. It's not miles apart in terms of mistakes, but I don't think it was as bad as what Grosjean did. And you have to remember, when it came to Grosjean's race ban, I think a lot of that race ban had to do with the fact that Grosjean continued to crash on the first lap, in races before. This is one incident with Hülkenberg. You can't just ban him after, one mistake. Yes, it caused a massive accident, but, it's just a mistake. There's been plenty of big accidents before which have not got someone a race ban. So I do not think a race ban is deserving of him, but I do think he should get a penalty for the Italian Grand Prix, say a 5-10 place grid penalty for causing the accident, but I don't think it should be a race ban. No way, absolutely no way. And Carlos Sainz P11, no pace this weekend from Carlos Sainz, and going to the Italian Grand Prix, I think Renault are going to lose out on more points to Haas. And I think Haas, by this time next week, will be ahead of Renault in the Constructors in 4th place. I do not see how Renault will score points at the Italian Grand Prix. Their engine is so slow. Their aero is good, but it's not as good as it was earlier in the season. So Renault need somehow to bring some kind of upgrade, because if they don't, they might drop even lower. You don't know. You don't know. But again, poor for Renault. But what do you guys think about that lap 1 collision? Who, in your opinion, caused that crash? Do you think Hülkenberg should get a penalty? Do you think he should get a race ban, even though I disagree? You share your opinion. What did you think about Carlos Sainz's race? And what do you think about Renault going forward for the Italian Grand Prix? Let's see what some of you guys are saying. Hülkenberg only eliminated himself, Nando and Leclerc. And Kimi Raikkonen as well, let's be honest. I think, he didn't directly hit him, but his locking up and going to Alonso, it began the trigger for Ricciardo hitting Raikkonen. So he basically eliminated Kimi Raikkonen as well. Definitely it's Hülkenberg's fault, though. That's from Ultraman Nexus. McLaren obviously have the best chassis. Would be silly to think otherwise. Oh, God, I cannot believe. You must be joking. Connor Chapman says, can F1 just admit that Sainz is not deserved of any of the drives he's got in Formula 1? No, I disagree. I think he's very deserving of being in F1. My opinion of him, though, has dropped after this season. After this season, I don't think he's as good or anywhere near as good as I thought he was. I thought he would beat Hülkenberg this year because that's how good I thought he was. But Hülkenberg has not comfortably beat him, but has put a number on him. And I don't think Sainz, can really hide from that. He has not been as good as Nico Hülkenberg, but I wouldn't say he's not deserving. He's very deserving. He should be in a midfield or a upper midfield car. He is still a very good driver. He just needs to get his act together when it comes to 2018 and when he goes to 2019, and when he goes to McLaren. The Grosjean crash in Spa 2012 wasn't deliberate either. None of them were deliberate. It's just the action they did, which caused the crash. Delirious user, Hülkenberg has absolutely dominated him, though. I don't think he's dominated him because, yes, in qualifying, Hülkenberg has been faster, but it's been still very close between the two. They are still very closely matched when it comes to qualifying speed. It's just the races, Sainz doesn't seem to be able to, find his way through the field or deal with what's happening in the races as well as Hülkenberg. I don't know, but he's just not doing it at the moment. Grid penalty for Hülkenberg. Yep, I agree. I will now move on from Renault. For the person asking about best chassis to worst, I'll probably do that at the end of the stream or something like that. Let's go on to Force India. What a result they have had today. 5th and 6th place. They have already gone past Williams, so Williams' efforts to get there, I think it was to deny them changing their name or deny them prize money to kind of halt them from coming back into F1. It clearly has not worked because Force India are now miles ahead of Williams in the Constructors, and Williams will finish last for sure. That is absolutely for sure. Force India now only 1 point off of Sauber. And what a day, what a weekend. 3rd and 4th on the grid and 5th and 6th in the race. That is a very good result. Very deserving of this team. They have gone through so many troubles financially over the last couple of months and this year, to be honest. And hopefully this result is just the start of something special, because this team has been one of the best performing on the grid for the last 3 or 4 years. They are such a good team. They deserve so much more than what they have been getting. Of course, 4th in the Constructors in 2016 and 2017. And I really just hope, again, that this is the start of something. Both drivers really couldn't do anything to fight back against Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas. They're just too fast. But again, P5 and P6, what a good result that is. But for you guys in the chat, what do you think about Force India's day? And what do you think Force India can achieve in the Constructors by the end of 2018? I think they can catch McLaren. I think they can do it. I think they have enough pace to do so. Let's see what some of you guys think. So it's apparently on Sky now that Hülkenberg has a 10th place grid penalty. That's exactly what I would have gone for. I think that is absolutely fair and correct. Great day from them. That's from Caleb. Ocon will go to McLaren. I predicted that, and I think he is going to. Gina says, Ocon is the superstar. I hope Stroll will not ruin his career. I don't think he will. I think Ocon will be in F1. I think he's too good to be dropped from F1. Incredible race start from Force India. Yeah, it was. They almost, with Ocon, got into the lead. That would have been something. If he had got maybe a 10th or 2 more lap time out of Eau Rouge and Radion on the start, he might have actually took the lead. He needed to be, I'd say, 0.2 of a second closer or better through that section, and he would have got into the lead of the race. So, yeah, that would have been absolutely incredible if he had done that. Ocon will be replaced in Singapore by Stroll. It looks as though it's going to be for Monza if he does get replaced before the season ends, but we don't know what is going to happen. Stroll is probably the worst driver on the grid, either him or Hartley. I don't think Hartley is the worst on the grid. I think Hartley is one of the worst, but I would say Lance Stroll is the worst driver on the grid, in my opinion, of course. Even if India had took lead, Vettel would have blown by them. Would have, but it would have had a massive effect on the race result because Hamilton, I think, would have been closer to Vettel during the early phase and might have been able to have some kind of effect on Vettel's result. Racing Point already almost got Sauber in the constructors. They will be. I think this time next weekend they will have passed Sauber in the Constructors' Championship. I think they have enough pace to do so. Could Ocon of overtaking Vettel on lap 1. Again, if he was 2 tenths closer on the exit of Radion, I think he would have got into the lead of the race, but he did not have enough pace going through that section and was not close enough to do so. But he was, of course, very, very close. Do you think Force India will be ruined next year? If Lance Stroll is going to that team, and I think he is, and they keep, they stick by him forever, then I think that is going to affect them a lot, because you guys can see there is clear evidence that Lance Stroll is not good by F1 standards. He's a good racing driver, but he is not good by Formula 1 standards. He's just not. In my opinion, the worst on the grid. I think Sergei Sorokin is more deserving of a Force India seat than Lance Stroll is. Look at this weekend. Sorokin was, in qualifying and the race, better than Stroll. And Sorokin, I think, has out-qualified Stroll by 8-5 in qualifying. That's clear evidence to see who's better. So why Stroll gets the chance and Sorokin doesn't, if it works that way, I don't know. I really don't know. Felipe Nasser, Dad should have bought Force India. That's a driver I think should still be in F1, or should have stayed in F1 for another year. I thought he was unfairly dropped. Chaz, how will Force India do next season? I don't know. I think they'll be kind of similar to how they were, say, in today's race. Not necessarily best of the rest, but between 8th and 12th, I think, next year. I think that's where they'll be. How will Force India perform with Stroll? If Perez stays in that car, then I think Force India will still score good points and finish 5th or 6th next year. But with Stroll, if the Force India car is not best of the rest, I don't see Stroll scoring points on that many occasions. Maybe 3 or 4 points finishes, something like that. Kind of similar to 2017. I think 2017 he had about 5, something like that. We'll have to see on that. But let's move on from Force India. I think we've gone deep enough with Force India. And let's go on to Williams, who weren't that bad today, I have to say. They weren't that far off the point. So I have to say again, good performance on race day from Williams. But this is a track where they should be good. So if the car was actually, decent, they should have been in those points scoring positions today. But because the car is so bad in the corners, even at a track that suits them, they can't be good. They can't be good. So poor there from Williams all round for the weekend. No surprise, this is Williams at the end of the day we are talking about. I'm not going to cut to the chat for Williams because I think we all want to move on from that awful team. And let's go to Toro Rosso. Very good day for Toro Rosso. Pierre Gasly in P9. And that is a very important result in the Constructors because Toro Rosso are trying to hold off Sauber in the Constructors, and with results like these, and with the way the Honda, and I'll get onto that in a minute, the way the Honda power unit performed today, they could do it. They really could do it. And Gasly was very consistent and deserved to get into P9 in the race, and hopefully for the rest of the season he does try and prove more and more why Red Bull have chosen him. But I do want to give a shout out to Honda. Hartley, on 2 occasions, passed Ericsson in a straight line with, Ericsson has a very powerful, the most powerful power unit on the grid right now, in my opinion, the Ferrari. He passed him twice down the Kemmel Straight. And I just want to give a shout out to Honda and say, you're making very, very nice progress. And I think next year, if they can improve again like they did from 2017 to 2018, then you don't know. Red Bull could be really good next year. But the Honda today really impressed me. I think that was one of the best things Honda have done since they came back into F1 in 2015. Showing very impressive speed in a straight line. And if they do that at Monza again, then I think Red Bull, their smile for next year will get even bigger, because they might have a beast for next year in terms of power. But we'll have to see in 2019. But good race there for Toro Rosso. What did you guys think of Honda in a straight line against Ericsson? Do you think Honda clearly showed there that they are, say, better than Renault now? And I actually think, you know what, I think now Honda, in terms of straight line speed, are better than Renault. I think it's clear to see that from what I just saw at the Belgian Grand Prix. And what did you think of Gasly scoring points? Hartley has improved this season. That's from JB. I don't think he's improved. I think the last few races he has improved, but I don't think, you know, compared to his, 4 races at the end of this season, he has improved really at all. Connor Chapman says Honda had some top end today. They did. It really surprised me. If you go back and watch the race watch-along, which is already up on the channel, if you want to go back and re-watch my reactions, it was one of the best things of the race for me. Seeing a Honda power unit going past a Ferrari-powered car, it was so nice to see that they're making progress. That was clear evidence of the progress, because it has been a debate whether Renault and Honda, you know, who is better. I think that's clear evidence that Honda are better right now, but will they be better next year? Who knows? Can Toro Rosso catch McLaren? I don't think they can. I don't think they'll score enough points to do so. I think they can get closer to McLaren, but I think McLaren have enough of a gap to Toro Rosso to finish ahead of them. Gasly is such a talent. He is, but I still think this year at points he has been inconsistent. But if he keeps on like this, you know, what he did today and this weekend, then he will change my mind once we get to the end of the season. And I won't say, oh, he's been inconsistent. I'll say, you know, mostly good or very good. We'll see what he does at the end of what he does once we get to the end of 2018. How many more points will McLaren get this season? It's hard to say. 15 points. That might be actually very generous. That might be very, very generous, because they have no pace. They have absolutely no pace in that McLaren. The dirty air shouldn't be forgotten as well. Yep, that's a good point. Honda will improve way more than Renault because money. They have the money to do so. It's just, you know, actually doing it. They haven't done it in 2015, 2016, 2017, but it looks like in 2018 they have. They just need to continue that. They can't do a step back like they did in 2017. Verstappen beat Gasly and Leclerc in karting. Max is the best. That's from Ronald. We'll move on now from Toro Rosso and go on to Haas, who had a very good day, just like Force India. And it is nice to see that Haas, even though they didn't have the best of the rest car like I thought they would, and they really should have, considering what they have been like in the previous few races, this is a good result. Because at the end of the day, all that matters now, because Force India have dropped down to now 9th, because they're now a new team, and McLaren are not going to catch them, it's all about what they are doing compared to Renault. That's all they need to care about. So as long as they beat Renault for most of the races in 2018 that is left, Haas will finish in 4th. And I think this weekend was very productive, despite them not being maybe as fast as you thought they would be. P7, P8, that could be a very important result once we get to the end of this season. And I hope for Haas they do finish fourth, honestly, because Renault, you know, they're a big manufacturer and they really should finish fourth. But Haas are, I think, the smallest team on the grid in terms of resource. So for them to finish fourth, and yes, I know that Ferrari helped them out a lot, but if they finished in fourth, that would be a monumental result, considering last season I think they finished, what, P7 in the Constructors or P8. So hopefully for Haas, they continue like this, and I think this time next week we will have a new team in fourth place in the Constructors' Championship. But what did you guys think of Haas's race? It was quite quiet, to be honest, but a good result nonetheless. What did you guys think of Haas, and do you think they will finish ahead of Renault in the Constructors in that very important fourth place? Remember, this is Haas's third season. It is. That's another crazy thing to think about, is that this is the third season of Haas's existence in F1, and they are going for fourth in the Constructors. Maybe that's a sign of things to come later on, say down the line in the next few years in F1. Maybe next year they'll be best of the rest. Clearly, you don't know. We'll have to see how their 2019 car looks. Haas, good result considering how Friday and Saturday looked. Good result indeed. 10 points is good for Haas. They will come in fourth place. I think they will. I don't think Renault, I don't think they have what it takes to finish fourth. Even though I think Renault are better at getting a result than Haas are, I think Haas have so much speed over Renault that Renault can't do anything to hold them back. There's nothing really they can do. So, yeah, that's a shame for Renault, but for Haas, that is very, very good. K-Mag gained around 12 seconds on Grosjean in the last stint. That's from Simon Cragland. He did gain a lot. I didn't know it was that much, so good there by K-Mag, but if he had been closer in the first stint, maybe he could have got P7 off his teammate. JB says, I feel as though the 2018 Haas is as good as the 2017 Force India. It's a similar situation to Force India, but at this point last year, Force India were clearly in fourth and were running away with that fourth place, but Haas are still factually in fifth place. Simon Cragland, gutted I missed the first part of this stream. Don't worry, you can just catch up on it once it goes up again in about an hour and a half's time. I will be coming off though shortly, as we are at the end of the stream almost. And for the last team, let's go on to Sauber, who, with Marcus Ericsson, good drive, getting P10. I don't know why there is pressure on his seat. I think he is very deserving of a seat after what he has shown this season. This is his fourth points finish in 2018. That's 4 points finishes. Very good by him. And Leclerc, nothing he could do. He was minding his own business, and then chaos happened. Hulkenberg hitting Alonso and then going over the top of Charles Leclerc. And I think we have to say, you might not want to admit it, but the halo saved at least a bad injury today, maybe a life, by protecting Leclerc's head from the wheel of Fernando Alonso's McLaren. So thank God the halo was on that car. That doesn't mean the halo after this incident is completely proven 100 million% to be the, the greatest safety device of all time. But it does prove why it's on the car. So hopefully people will now stop complaining for the time being about, oh, the halo this, the halo that, because this race has proven that it has to be on the car. And it's quite coincidental because the 2012 Spa crash is what begun the halo development, or the head protection device development. And it's very coincidental that 6 years later, almost the same day, this happens, a very similar crash, and this time it actually prevents it from being what Spa 2012 could have been, which could have been a death. So coincidental, and also good to see that the halo is doing its job. So what do you guys think about the halo? Do you think it did its job today? And what do you think now about the halo after that incident? And what do you think about Sauber's race? Let's see what some of you guys are saying. Shaky day for Leclerc. Indeed. Leclerc since Silverstone has been really unlucky. He's had a lot of issues. He needs, for the Italian Grand Prix, he just needs a weekend with no issues and he should get into the points. But he has not had that since his wheel was not on at the British Grand Prix about a month and a half ago. So a good squabble between Ericsson and Hartley. It was. That's the only squabble that we had in the final part of the race. It was the first time in years and McLaren was flying. That's from Fish Lips. That's a very good one. Chaz, can you order the chassis from best to worst? I will do that in a moment. Just waiting to see if anyone has any thoughts about the halo or anything like that. John says, ask Massa if he would have liked to have had the halo. That's a great point. But I think today has proven to the people that were still doubting it that it has to be there. The people that were complaining about the halo, I was complaining about the halo because at the time I did not think it would actually protect the drivers, but I've been proven wrong. But another reason was the looks of it. But, you know, once we got into pre-season, I didn't even notice the halo. When I look at the cars, I don't notice the halo at all. I don't see it at all. I'm looking at other parts of the car. The halo is not important to me. I did not think that would be the case coming into this season. That's why I criticised the halo. But I've been proven wrong. And, yeah, there's nothing to complain about. Debate or no debate, the halo should be there. It's better to have it than not to. That's from Bless Doob. Absolutely 100%. Connor Chapman never had a problem with the halo, and now this event solidified its need. It looks great on the cars too. It doesn't even look, and that's another thing, I thought it would look really bad on the cars. I think some of them don't look great, but some of them, like the Ferrari one, I think looks very, very good. So it's not even that bad looking. It's just people, you know, complaining a lot over, at the end of the day, nothing. Hulkenberg got 10th place grid penalty. Yep. It's ugly, but no part of it. And to me, forgotten. Safety over aesthetics. I absolutely agree, Ben McCarthy. That's a great comment. Simon Craiglin, you don't notice the halo as much anymore as they were using the halo as MPH, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I think I do. The halo did cause more harm to Hartley in Canada when he smashed his head onto the halo. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure if he actually hit the halo with his head. If he did, then yes, it wasn't great. But, you know, today was a much worse incident and it saved, at least, again, an injury. I'm not going to say it saved his life because we don't know for sure, but it did save him from any kind of injury. Fish Lips, it looks fine and nobody gets hurt by it. Agreed. Just looking for some more halo comments because I think I missed a couple. Just looking now. Anyone have any more comments about the halo? I'm just looking for some because I think I might have missed some. I haven't actually. Anyone have any more comments about the halo? Also, I'll answer someone's question about best to worst chassis. Might as well do that now, actually. So the best chassis is the Red Bull. And then I think the best chassis after that... Mercedes and Ferrari, they're basically tied for second, I would say. Yeah, I'd say Mercedes and Ferrari are tied for second. And then fourth after that, I'd say Renault. Then Toro Rosso. So that's Toro Rosso fifth. Sixth, I would say Haas. Just trying to think. 7th. Force India. 8th. 8th, I'd say Sauber. Then 9th, McLaren. Then 10th, Williams. That's not, of course, the actual order of the field, but that just gives you an idea of how much a good engine, how much you need one in today's F1. Hopefully that does change eventually in the future. But, right, I think, guys, I need to end this stream now. If you're wondering why there's no Q&A at the end of this, it's because I'm going to be doing a live post-Belgian Grand Prix Q&A tomorrow night on Monday night at 6 PM. So if you want to ask a question, come along and ask me one in that 30 to 35 minute period. And I'll answer it. Also at 4 PM tomorrow or around 4 PM, I will be doing my race review for the Belgian Grand Prix. It won't be very long because this race didn't exactly have, British Grand Prix level of action going on. And then after that, there will be the podcast on Tuesday. I record that with Niblo on Monday night, and then we'll get that going on Tuesday. And I might have to split that into 2 parts again. So that might be Tuesday and Wednesday. But yeah, that's what's coming up. And then, of course, we do all the same next weekend for the Italian Grand Prix. But guys, don't forget to subscribe. Click either on the bottom right of the screen. You can subscribe there. Click on my channel name or click on the link in the description. Go to my channel page and click subscribe. Like this video. Don't forget to comment down below what you thought of the Belgian Grand Prix and what you thought of the incidents within that. As well, if you want to join our Discord server, a link to that is down below. Join the great community over there with just over 50 people. It is growing every day. Also, follow me on Twitter. A link to that is in the description if you want to keep up to date with what I'm doing with the channel, when videos are going to be uploaded, and if if there are any issues that you need to be keeping yourself updated on in case I don't upload for some reason. If there is an issue, then you need to go and follow me on Twitter so you know why there is no video on a certain day like there was a couple of weeks ago because of my, let's just say, internet service provider. But thank you guys for coming along. It has, again, been a blast, and hopefully the Italian Grand Prix next weekend will be good. But I will see all of you tomorrow for the race review.